Well, it's the fall and winter season starting, and I want to show you how to make our grandma's pork roast. Now, this is a roast that we learned how to make when I was a young newlywed, just married into my husband's family. And my mother-in-law, she's really honestly a great cook, and she's been a great mentor of mine from day one since I was early married. Anyhow, she makes this amazing pork roast, and I know people don't really do pork roast and vegetables anymore. You don't see it anywhere. But I just happened to have this roast handy, and I thought, I'm going to make Grandma's pork roast, and I think you should learn how to make it too, because it really is special and so easy. So let me show you what we're going to do to make our pork roast. This is a pork shoulder, and it's got a little bit of a bone in it. And what I'm going to do is I have my nice heavy duty pot right here. I'm going to turn this on right here. I'm going to heat this up a little bit. I'm just going to put a little bit of olive oil down here. Okay. And then meanwhile, what I want to do is I'm going to put some olive oil on here because I'm going to season this very highly seasoned. You want to have it very highly seasoned. The olive oil is going to help the seasoning stick. And so you want to put on some garlic salt and be generous. And we want to put on some lemon pepper and some Lawry's seasoning salt. And rub that in here with the olive oil a little bit, waiting for this to heat up a little bit. Okay, let me tell you what else we're going to be putting in our roast. This is so easy to put together, and if you have to go out for 3 or 4 hours or something, this is why it works so great. Now, this roast is going to be cooking in the pot in the oven at 275 degrees. I have actually put the 400 degrees on to get it started, and then I will turn it down. But this is going to be a slow roast. So you probably could use a crock pot, but I like these heavy duty pots better. And I just have had more practice using pots and Magnolite roasters and things like that to do roasts, and it works really well for me. So do whatever works best for you. So I'm going to prepare that in just a moment to show you what to do. But meanwhile, I had a few mushrooms in my fridge, and I thought, okay, they're getting brown, so I want to make sure they don't go to waste. So we're going to put those on top. As soon as I get the roast seared here in just a moment, I'm going to put in a couple of red potatoes, chunks of carrot, and I really love the onions that go in this roast because they just caramelize on top of the roast. So I've got up to 2 onions we're going to put in. Okay, so this is kind of hot now. Let me see if it is. Okay, we're going to go ahead and sear the top of this roast where I already have the seasoning. Put it right in here. And meanwhile, we're going to season this other side with more garlic salt. Now, this roast right here is about a 2.5 pound roast. And we're going to cook it, this is how you can remember, 275 degrees, an hour per pound. So I'm going to be cooking this roast at 275 for 2.5 hours. That's a good way you can remember. This recipe too is in my cookbook. It's called Grandma's Roast. So you might want to check that out if you don't have the cookbook yet and get it so you can do that. I'm going to pick out okay, this is going to just sear on high for just a few minutes. And then we're going to turn it over and sear it on the other side. Roast has been searing for about 2 minutes. I found my little fork, and I'm going to turn it over here. And I'm going to let it sear a little bit longer. But meanwhile, I don't want you to worry about having to put any kind of liquid or anything to braise this because its own juices will braise everything for you. So I'm going to start putting in the things I want to put around the edges, which are the things that will take longer to cook, which will be the potatoes and the carrots. So I'm going to add these. So this is going to be a pork roast with a very few vegetables. Now, this recipe, you can also put vegetables in it without the potatoes, and you can make a really yummy gravy and mashed potatoes with it, which everybody loves that too. But this is just a little bit healthier way to have this roast. I'm going to go ahead and put in the carrots. And then on top of the roast, I'm going to put in my lots and lots of onion. This gives it tons of flavor as well. I think you can't have too much onion. And then on top of that, we're going to put in all these mushrooms. So you have quite a big roast now. I'm going to season this a little bit too with some of the seasoning. A little salt and pepper. And on the top. Okay, I'm going to turn this off now. I'm going to put this lid on it. This is a nice, secure, big pot lid. I'm going to put this in my oven, and I'm going to go ahead and put it in for 2.5 hours. Now, I'm going to be checking it in a couple of hours to see how it's doing, but I think it'll take at least 2.5 hours to get that totally roasted perfectly. So I'm going to turn this off and now put roast for 275. Start. Okay, there we go. It should be finished, and I'll show you what it looks like when it comes out of the oven. Okay, it's been pretty much exactly 2.5 hours since we put the roast in the oven. So let's take a look at it and see how it looks. All right, we're going to take the lid off here. And as you can see, we have a lot of really yummy vegetables and everything kind of marinating, and a lot of broth. Remember, we didn't put any water or anything in this roast while it was roasting on this low temperature. And we have plenty of juices to add to this roast. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to take out all the vegetables. We're going to put them in our little container here that we're going to serve it in. And I'm just going to kind of mix them all together, the mushrooms and the onions. These onions are so delicious because they've been marinating in this juice. The mushrooms are amazing. We've got carrots and potatoes down here. So we're just going to pick out all of the vegetables that we can here and just put them in a pile. And there's actually quite a few, so this is going to feed you for a couple of meals at least. Okay, now here I'm going to go ahead and just take out this roast. There's a little bit of fat on that roast. And then I'm going to take the rest of these vegetables out over here. And you can see we have a nice little brothy drippings, which I'm going to go ahead and turn this onto my stove, onto about medium, and let that get ready. But meanwhile, I'm going to come over here into our bowl here with our vegetables, and hopefully this is going to be done. We'll see, but this should shred nicely. You can see you just start taking your pork roast and start shredding pieces of roast off. You can slice this too. It looks like it's done nicely. It probably could cook just a little bit longer, but I'm doing it now because I actually need to go to bed. So we're going to have it done whether it's quite done or not. But you can see it is still nicely shredding. This is a pork shoulder roast, which is meant to shred easily. Now, I'm going to do this. Now, I really hate to waste any of this broth. We could do just an au jus and just put this on the side, and you can pour a little of this gravy on the side onto your roast. But since you have potatoes and other vegetables that might taste good with the gravy on it, or you can put it on your roast as well. I'm going to just show you how easy it is for me. I'm not even measuring this for sure. I've just got some water mixed with a little bit of flour. And this is going to thicken it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just add a little bit of this. Let's see, let's get it boiling again. Now, this isn't a lot of drippings, but you don't need a lot of drippings. And you can see there's plenty of fat still on the roast that you don't have to use. See if that will thicken it up a little bit. Now, what's so wonderful about this dinner is you can see I only had maybe 5 or 10 minutes of prep time to have this all ready, with even just cutting up the few vegetables that I put in here. You put it in the pot. You have this go just a little bit thicker. Then it should be ready shortly. You can put that in your gravy boat. And in just a moment I'll be back and I'll show you how we're going to serve it. Okay, I finished my gravy. And you saw the drippings earlier. And this is just a little bit thickened with a little bit of my flour. I tasted the gravy and it is absolutely perfect. And the reason is you don't need to add any more salt or seasoning because remember that we seasoned this roast very, very well before we started. And we seared in the juices. And now we have a very tender, yummy roast with, look at all the yummy vegetables to go with it. And it's just heavenly. And you can put gravy on everything if you'd like. Here it is, ready to serve up. And you made it so simply and easily. And this is like comfort food at its best. You can also use your leftover roast to make all kinds of yummy Mexican food too. So I will tell you about that later, another time. Thank you for watching. And please subscribe to my channel if you like the dishes that I'm sharing with you and the recipes that I'm sharing with you. And once again, this recipe will be printed in the description below under Show More. And if you buy my cookbook, this recipe is also in the cookbook as well. So enjoy.